What's up, guys? Chasing up a New Age Revolution down here in the cave for another episode of Whatever Happened To. Like I've mentioned before, quickly becoming the favorite thing I do on this channel. I needed ideas for daily check-ins, or as close to daily as I can get. I'll tell you, it's sinking in, because when I don't do it every day, I kind of miss it, and I kind of come up with ways that I can come down here and hang with you guys. Come on in, Finn. Finn, come in. All right, just creeping open the door. And so the Whatever Happened To idea really gives me that opportunity to come down here and talk every day. The other stuff is still here. We just do it a little bit more spread out. 1986 G.I. Joes are well started. We'll keep going with those as I get more accessories and weapons to complete the figures that I already have. Wrestling with the Past, obviously. We'll get PACW going again. There's been a few eBay purchases recently and a few thrift store purchases recently, so I might just do a, here's what I've been buying lately episode. I still want to do something with the Nintendo games, my top 5 Nintendo games or whatever, and just keep it going. But the opportunity to speak with you daily will be in the form of Whatever Happened To. And then, like yesterday's topic of, does it hold up? Saturday Super Show, Saturday morning Super Show is this weekend, this Saturday. That'll be great. Vintage Horror Night will keep doing, so everything will keep going. But anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about right now. Whatever happened to. So the topic for today, ladies and gentlemen, we already know the answer to. So this is not a literal whatever happened to. Where did it go? I don't know. No, this is a whatever happened to, where we're going to talk memories, and we're going to talk how much we enjoyed this stuff, this concept. So let's come back after this with Whatever Happened To video stores. All right, yes, Whatever Happened To, and like I said earlier, it's we already know the answer. We already know the answer of where did video stores go. As much as we love and cherish Blockbuster, big chains like that are the reason that mom and pops went out. And I don't know why, though. I have honestly no idea why. Because in comparison to mom and pops, Blockbuster sucked for many reasons. Okay, the absurd late fees. I remember toward the end of Blockbuster's life, a very short-lived policy that they had was get the video back by noon the next day, or you're getting charged a late fee, which was, almost impossible for some people to do. Prices and things like that just... But, if I could have gone to mom and pop video stores, I would have. The drawbacks to those, obviously, is they don't have 700 copies of a movie that you might want. Of a new release, anyways, that you might want. Blockbuster, sure, I miss it. But I miss the mom and pops more, because that was my introduction to video stores. As early as, maybe 9, 10 years old. Video stores for a couple of for like 3 special reasons, and that's going to lead to the conversation. Those are going to be like subtopics of the Whatever Happened to video stores. We're going to break it down into 3 topics, and you could probably guess 3 reasons why I, as a kid, loved video stores. Right? 1, movies. 2, wrestling VHS tapes, and 3, Nintendo games. Those are the 3 reasons that I went to a video store. We talked yesterday about does it hold up, and we talked about VHS tapes and standard analog television, you know, would we really trade it all in? Would we really trade in the 4K Blu-rays, the crystal clear picture quality, to go back and watch something on the, you know, quality of a VHS tape, on the quality of a Zenith System 3? And my answer, 100%, is yes. Absolutely. Again, because it was simple. It was simple. All we cared about was the movie. Just watch the movie. I mean, think about it, guys. Think about your grandma's TV in 1981 or something, right? It was in her kitchen. It was black and white, and the picture barely came in. But she sat and stared at it and enjoyed it because it was great entertainment, right? How come it worked back then, but today we need to see, you know, all of the ingrown hairs on a person's, you know, arm, I don't know, in crystal clear 4K quality? Why do we need that now? Why is that so important to us? But anyway, would I trade it all in to have a collection of these, to have a wall full, a library full of VHS tapes? Yes. Yes, I think these are so much more visually appealing than Blu-rays and DVDs ever were, as far as display items. I love these. I love the look of VHS tapes. So anyway, memories of video stores for me probably started, like I said, around 9-10 years old, because like pretty much everybody else in the country, my parents got a divorce when I was 8. And you know, back then the standard visitation for fathers was weekends, right? So you go to your dad's on the weekends, and you know, what's a dad going to do with you know, 3 kids? He's going to try to entertain them as calmly and as cheaply as possible. And so the video store became the thing we did on weekends with my dad. And, you know, some people might say, oh, well, you know, your dad should have went out and played Frisbee with you and played... Well, we did that too. But honestly, I looked forward to evenings sitting on the couch, you know, curled up with my dad and you know, hanging out with my sisters, watching movies. And of course, the only way that we would get those movies is if we all hopped in the car and went to the video store. And we did fluctuate between Blockbuster and the mom and pops. And aside from the family video watching, my dad and I kind of had our own little genre, our own little niche, right, of videos that we would watch. And my sisters would go do something else, or they'd be asleep. But my dad and I would watch, you know, like Steven Seagal and Van Damme, and, you know, just those over-the-top, blow-em-up kind of movies. That was me and my dad. And sometimes we'd rent like 2, and we'd watch them back-to-back, which, you know, blows a kid's mind back then. You know, 2 movies in one night, this is amazing. And there, you know, there would be snacks, and it would be great. You know, it was just a great, just great memories. And I would also, and that was kind of, video stores was kind of my early exposure to horror, because back then, I guess the parents just weren't paying that much attention, and I'd be able to rent a horror movie. You know, I would just walk up and down the horror aisle and pick one that looked, you know, great. And that's how I was exposed to Sleepaway Camp 2. And the reason I rented that was the cover looked awesome because it had all the masks. It had like the Jason mask. It had the Freddy glove, like all tucked in this girl's backpack. And I was like, oh my God, look at this movie. This is incredible. Obviously, it has nothing to do with those franchises. But I watched Sleepaway Camp 2 by myself at about age 11. And Sleepaway Camp is like almost like softcore porn in some parts. And, you know, I'm watching it. And I knew I was getting away with something. You know, I knew this was something special. So yeah. Anyway, so that's debatable. There would be no way in the world I would let, you know, Liam at 11 watch Sleepaway Camp 2. But anyway, So the movies, the divorced parents, how much video stores and divorced fathers have in common, and then wow, then the exposure to wrestling VHS tapes, the Coliseum video wrestling VHS tapes. Why is this so important? Because that footage didn't air anywhere else. All right, obviously we couldn't just stream it. We couldn't watch it on YouTube. There was no WWE network, right? And on Saturdays, all you got was championship wrestling enhancement matches. So you didn't see any of that stuff, any of those main event matches, unless you were lucky enough to catch an MSG house show or something like that. But you didn't see those. And so when the Wrestling Classic came out, or when the first Hulkamania tape came out, followed by WrestleMania 1 that I rented a million times. And then Coliseum started putting out a best of WWF series, right? So I think there's like 35 of them. But it was like best of WWF Volume 1, Volume 2. And again, you're seeing stuff that you've never seen. And you're seeing stuff that you've already seen, but at 9, 10 years old, you don't care that you've already seen it. Like I said, I rented WrestleMania 100 times, right? Just because I could watch it over and over again. So the Wrestling Coliseum VHS tapes. And if you got lucky to find a video store that was stocked with them, you would see some of the stranger Coliseum videos, like they would do tapes on individual wrestlers. So like Ricky Steamboat had his own Coliseum tape, and Randy Savage had his own tape. Obviously Hulkamania started it. Andre the Giant had his own tape. And then you get some weird ones, like it was called Bloopers and Body Slams or something like that. And then it was WWF's most strange matches, the Texas Tornado match, it was a strange match. But you'd see that stuff too, but you'd only see that if the video store had a very deep collection of wrestling tapes. Usually it was just your standard stuff, and then oh my God, then if you hit a gold mine of a rental place, you had NWA tapes. You would see like the Great American Bash tape, or you'd see the Bunkhouse Stampede tape from the NWA, and that stuff you never saw on. You had no way to watch those matches from the NWA, ever. You were never going to see those anywhere else but those tapes. So that was fun. What else? Yeah, wrestling was incredible. That was so great to get those tapes back then. And then the other reason started coming later when I got the Nintendo. Because these games, Nintendo games, were $50, $60 even then. And you weren't getting a new Nintendo game every week at all, So your best opportunity was to rent the game and play the heck out of it all weekend, and then, give it back and sometimes rent it again. And I did that so much back in the day. Because, for $2 or $3, couldn't go wrong. Who cares, right? If the game was garbage, it didn't matter. I remember renting a few really bad games, and I was just like, oh boy, this game is horrible, and that was it. I was done with it for the weekend, and we returned it. But I remember renting the first WrestleMania game. The WWF, the first one, which is horrible, by the way, just horrible. But had to have it. I mean, my life was depending on it. I had to rent WWF WrestleMania, and it was always out, and it was always hard to find, and I finally got it one day and got it home and really tried to make the best of it, but good old Nintendo. So there's a lot of, there's just so many memories wrapped up with the video store. And I worked at a video store when I was, probably 21 and a half or so. I worked at a Video King, it was called. Video King. And I worked there for about 6 months. I knew somebody who worked there, and then back then you'd go into a place, you knew somebody who worked there, your friend, and then your friend would talk to the manager, and the manager would be like, sure. And then he just worked there. And that was a blast. I didn't appreciate it as much as I would now, Back then it was just a job, but, I did it. I worked at a video store, and then there were parts that were crappy, having to shrink wrap, new tapes for sale and use the shrink wrap machine and messing it up completely and having the ugliest shrink wrapped videotape on the shelf. The odd evenings when some interesting looking fellow would walk right in with his head down and walk straight back to the naughty section, and what seemed like an hour and a half later would come out with, a stack of tapes and just keep his head down the whole time while checking out, and I'm dying inside. Great stuff. That was a blast. That was a fun time. There's a ton of things that I would love to just go back and do for a day or two, and working at a video store is definitely one of them. But people would ruin it because people suck, so people would ruin it eventually. That's why I could only do it for a day. So video stores, greatest ever. And then they started to disappear. They started to go away. Our grocery store chain locally is Wegmans. It's one of the biggest grocery chains on the East Coast. It started here and has spread to like New Jersey and Pennsylvania. It's huge. Back in the 80s, they had a video store in the grocery store. Obviously small, but you would get your Wegmans video card and you'd go and, you could rent videos from the grocery store, which was awesome. A couple little convenience stores near me back in the 80s would rent videos. And I'm talking, they had probably 30, maybe 30 movies to choose from. They probably just created the whole thing themselves and bought some movies and, and you would rent those, and that was great. That was the best. It was the best. And it made us, it humbled us a little, okay, in comparison today. Because here's the thing, there's a movie that I want to watch. Somebody told me about it when I did Whatever Happened to Arcades. Somebody told me about a movie called Joysticks, which is probably a cheeseball 80s, arcade video game movie. And I'm going to watch it. I'm probably going to watch it tonight. But I don't have to search for it. I just have to sit on my couch and type it into my television, and some streaming option app will have Joysticks. I think it's Amazon Prime. So I'll be watching Joysticks tonight. Now back then, if I wanted to watch Joysticks, we had to go find it. And you probably weren't going to find it at Wegmans, and you probably weren't going to find it at the convenience store, video store. And if you went to Blockbuster, there's probably a decent chance you could find it, but you might have to hit up your third or fourth mom and pop store to get your copy of Joysticks. Or sometimes you just didn't see it at all. And that's okay too. That's okay too. The instant gratification of today is just killing us, right? It's killing us. And, as convenient as it'll be tonight to sit on the couch and watch Joysticks without having to look for it at all, what the heck, I wouldn't mind having to go find it or buy it or rent it and try it out and see if it's any good. I wouldn't mind having to do that, instead of just sitting here and one click and there it is. And so that was the thing with video stores. There was a lot of nights where you were disappointed. But what did you do? Did you scrap the whole night because they didn't have a copy of Poltergeist 2? No, you walked a little further down the aisle and you got, Ben or the Langoliers. Langoliers? You rented that and you were fine with it. You came home and it was all right. Waiting a couple of weeks to get the new release. You get there, there's 20,000 boxes of whatever, Dumb and Dumber. And you but no, there's no tapes behind the boxes. They're all out. And so now you know what you did? You got another movie. And then when you returned it the next couple of days, you went and looked again. And maybe it was there and maybe it wasn't. But eventually you were going to see it. And it made it that much more special. it made it that much better because you waited 3 weeks to be able to see the video, right? And now we're not waiting for anything. We wait for nothing. And I don't like it, you know, I don't like it. So, that's that. That's the memories of video stores. The VHS tapes, I will never stop loving. I will never stop collecting and enjoying and watching them. You know, whether it's the home brews that I just loving more and more and getting more and more into this collection, or the, you know, the commercial releases that look beautiful. You know, they're just big and bulky and awesome. I love them. VHS is never going to die in my life, my collection. We'll always have a working TV down here. We'll always have a VCR. We'll always hang out down here and watch some stuff. So, as always, favorite video store memories, what are they? What were the mom and pops near you? You know, do you still owe a video store $3,000 because you didn't return your copy of WrestleMania 2? Are you still getting collection letters from Acme Video? I am. All right, folks, that's that. Whatever happened to video stores, we'll see you all again tomorrow. Good night now.